morning I have with me two members from my staff that I'd like to introduce to you that will be demonstrating some of the things that we'll be talking about this morning. The first is, this is Coach Troy Calhoun, Captain Troy Calhoun, who is on the active duty, coaches as the offensive coordinator for our JV team at the Academy. Troy graduated in 1989, was an outstanding quarterback, probably the smartest quarterback that we've ever had at the Air Force Academy. The next gentleman I'd like to introduce to you is Captain Pat Evans. Pat played fullback for us, graduated in 1986. Pat is the second all-time leading rusher in Academy football. Was voted the most valuable player in the Bluebonnet Bowl in 1985 in our win over the University of Texas, and we're very proud to have them today. Our topic is how to develop the quarterback, the skills, the things that are essential for the quarterback to be able to do in the triple option offense. And the focus is going to be primarily on the fullback, on the quarterback position, because very frankly, this is where it all starts. This is the nuts and bolts of the offense, and the success of the offense is very frankly going to depend on these two particular positions. Now, why run the wishbone offense? Well, first of all, I believe in option football. I certainly think that it's easy to run an offense when you don't have to block two men on the line of scrimmage. I also think that it's good to have a lead blocker out in front of that ball carrier in the open field. That's one of the main reasons that we employ the wishbone offense. Certainly, we think at the Academy that the wishbone offense gives us an opportunity to compete. I don't think you have to have great big physical people in order to run the wishbone. I think, you know, we're never going to be basically as big as our opponent at the Academy, but I think the wishbone really has a lot to do in helping equalize talent. Our whole idea is to spread the defense out and let our quickness take over, and we pride ourselves in our quickness at the Academy. Certainly, the wishbone is a physical approach to football, and I like that. I certainly think in the springtime that our defense having to defend against the run, and I think you have to do that in order, you know, to have a good defensive football team, is to stop the run first. It gives them a physical approach to the game, and so that's another reason that we use it. Certainly, the defense cannot be right if you execute. And that's why I advocate to you, if you're going to run and use the wishbone, you have to, I think, read the offense. And certainly, I think that you get the full benefit. The basic play in the offense gives you the opportunity of 3 plays in one. We don't know who's going to have the football until the defense makes its commitment, and that's the thing that I like. We don't decide what we're going to do with the football until the defense has made its commitment. Certainly, it's a team concept and a team approach. We very frankly feel that the bottom line at our Academy is that we're a family, and we feel that this offense supports that philosophical foundation of our football program. And so we feel like that it's team-oriented. You know, it's a reciprocating offense. Right, you've got to do for me, I've got to do for you. And certainly it forces the defense. It's a balanced offense, so it forces the defense to be a balanced defense. If you're not, you overcommit to the field or you overcommit to the formation or whatever, our quarterbacks are going to be plenty skilled enough that they can get audible and get us into the right play. But certainly it's an offense that's based on repetition and precision, doing the little things and doing the little things right. Well, certainly we talked about the characteristics that we look for now in the wishbone quarterback. We certainly need to look at the characteristics of the wishbone fullback. And very frankly, I think this young man has got to be the toughest guy on your football team. He's got to be very, very durable. He's got to be tough. I think that the thing that we look for in a wishbone fullback, we would like to have some size there, but the most important thing is for that guy to have explosive start. He's got to be able to come out of his stance and with great determination, with great toughness and leg strength and balance. Now, there's some essential fundamentals that we got to establish to start with the development of the wishbone offense, and I think it all starts first and foremost with the stance of the quarterback. If you'll notice now, Troy is going to assume the stance that we look for as the wishbone quarterback, and basically we just want him to be in a good football position. The good football position is the angle, the break here at the ankles, at the leg, at the waist right here. Noticing the back is straight. Noticing that he's got the periphery of the whole field. Noticing there's a slight bend in the arms right here. It's not a squat position up under there, as we see a lot of guys do, with a bend in there. We want our quarterback to be very, very comfortable so that he can push out to either side from his position right there. Now, the next thing is the exchange. As you'll notice, Pat, not being the center here, but yet at the same time, knowing what we're looking for, the laces are up, and we want the center to have a balanced stance because he's going to have to step either way as he releases the football. But all we want Pat to do is to hand the football back to the quarterback. He brings the ball straight back, and the natural turn of the ball, bring it on back, Pat, which is a quarter of a turn, will hit Troy. And again, we want Troy to be able to take the ball with the laces up so that he gets the fat of the ball right here. Now, as Troy is under the center right here, he is placing pressure with his top hand. Playing pressure with his top hand. He also has his thumbs in the groove right here, interlocking right in there, and he is placing pressure with the top hand and the middle finger right down the midline of Pat's body right there. Now, it's very important, I think, that your quarterback have a strong command voice. And we work on this. We think this develops the, starts off with the leadership principle, developing the confidence in the quarterback's ability right there. And we do a lot of audibles at the line of scrimmage. We also start a lot of our quarterback drills with our quarterback coach in his meetings with a clap drill. And so that we can get unified, we use the rhythm count, and we want everybody to be on the same page because we're coming off the football. We're an attacked offense. Troy, if you want to share with them what our cadence is and how we would communicate this.
We use a simple down, set, hike cadence system. If we were to audible, we would say down, call the audible to the right, call the audible to the left, or the other way around, set, hike. So, for instance, I'd say down, pause for a bit, set, hike. If I were to audible, I would say down, 34, 34, set, hike. And that's the cadence system we use at the Academy.
Now, the mesh is the most important thing that we do as far as the triple option offense is concerned, and that's what we would like to talk about next. Certainly, it's the heart and soul of what we try to do in reading the triple option and the base play of the offense. And I think it's very important as you develop the mesh that you keep the same guys together because they develop a rapport with each other, a feel for each other. Our alignment from the quarterback to the fullback is going to be 6 feet from the heels of the quarterback to the fingertip of the fullback. Now, we have a manager that goes from drill to drill all throughout our practice. We think this is very skilled, placing this rod so that our fullbacks get the same alignment. The consistency factor is the most important thing that we're trying to do, and it has to be so synchronized and so meshed. Now, the steps that we try to teach the quarterback as he comes out from under center are referenced by an imaginary clock that we put behind our quarterback, 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and 9 o'clock. And we tell our quarterback on base plays that you open at 4 o'clock or you open at 8 o'clock, and these are the basic 2 steps that we take in the offense. Now, the other thing that I think that you've got to have in order to teach the mesh is a mat. Now, this mat is not exactly drawn to scale according to our offense, but it is for practical purposes so that you'll understand and we'll be able to use today. But this is a major, major piece of equipment that we use because it's very important that our quarterback and our fullback hook up at the same time, mesh at the same place every time, and that our fullback is at the right alignment and running to the same landmark each time that he does. As far as the mesh is concerned now, the actual mesh techniques, we want our quarterback to push off on his left foot and open at 8 o'clock. Open at 8 o'clock. Presenting the ball as deep as he possibly can to the fullback. Now, again, the thing that we want more than anything else is that we want his eyes to be into the read area. He never looks at the fullback. And he's going to take a quick read as the ball is snapped or as the ball is on the way back to him. We don't ever want him to tip. I think it's important that the quarterback coach get on this side of the thing and be sure that he's not leaning, that he's not looking ahead of time in the direction that the play is going. I think it's important for the quarterback to get in that particular position. And then, of course, as Troy opens at 8 o'clock, he's going to present the ball. Notice that his right elbow is into his side. Notice that he is now looking over the front tip of his shoulder right there into the read area. And then he's going to transfer his weight as he makes movement with the quarterback. His second step takes him into the line, and then as the fullback comes, the fullback will hook up with the quarterback. Come over in, Pat, if you will. We're going to step and we'll walk you through this in just 1 second. Well, this is the picture. Notice Troy is in a position as if he was just lined up under center. Pat is very, very low right there. And again, we want the quarterback to shift his weight and ride with the fullback, never allowing his arms to get over his front foot right here. If he feels that he has not made a read by that time, we will allow him to co-hop or shift his weight into the line to get an additional period of time there in order to read. But again, we never want to get that ball over the front foot. We never want to have a period of indecision, because if you do, then again you're having some problems and might leave the ball on the ground, and that's the worst thing we could do. Looking at the fullback stance now. The fullback, again, we want him to assume a balanced stance, feet up under his shoulder pads. We want his weight forward. We let him use either a 4 or a 3-point stance, whichever one he feels most comfortable with. But again, we want his eyes up, and he is going to read exactly the same thing that the quarterback is reading. And that's why it's important to have them in the meetings together. His neck is bowed, and again, he's looking straight ahead, and his neck is bowed, and then again, quickly on his first step, he wants to focus in to the read area, coming low as low as he possibly can. All right, now as Pat comes on for the mesh right here, on the second step, his elbow comes up. He forms the soft well right there, and the soft pocket right there for the quarterback. We don't push the ball in there. All we do is present the football in there. And as Pat continues on his ride now, Troy is going to shift his weight to his front foot, and then now by this time, he should have made a decision what he is going to do with the football. All right. Now, we think that this is a feel thing. We don't tell the quarterback when to leave it. We don't press the ball in there. It again becomes a rapport thing. It becomes something that the quarterback and the fullback, begin to feel and begin to get a feeling for. And we think this, again, is the most important thing. Let's run through the mesh one time and show them. Troy, if you'll give us a cadence right there.
Set, hike.
Good. All right. Now, Pat, if you'll come back, Troy, if you'll come back, we use the cage a good bit. We have a portable cage just about like this that we move around. And the thing that we want to do in order to create deception and so that the linebackers over there don't know whether we've got the ball or whether we hadn't, we want to put the fullback either at the back of the cage, the front of the cage, and we have several types of cages at the academy, but in order to get him exploding out of there and getting him to explode at the right parallel line, getting them to hook up, and again trying to get a little deception in our offense and getting the power and coming out with a flat back, coming out with explosion so that he's got enormous power behind him, we work under the cage. Let's show them how we come out from under the cage drill right there.
Now, set height.
Good. Okay, now let's talk about the front right here. And again, this is the base thing that we do in our offense. That is the mesh with the quarterback. That is the base play. That's our 34 play to the right, our 35 play to the left. But we want to be able to keep the fullback in the game. We realize that there are ways in which you can take the fullback out of the game, and so we're constantly keeping our fullback, because if you don't take him away from us, we're going to whip you with the fullback. But we want to keep him in the game, and so consequently, we want to be able to attack the entire defensive front. There are 3 ways in which we do that. We do that with the straight dive, in which Troy now is going to step out with his onside foot back to 8 o'clock. Let's step through that, Troy, and try to present the ball as deep to Pat. This is our 30 play right here, and we want to give the ball as deep as we can so that the fullback will have time to read off of the middle guard or try to read off what is happening off the center's block. Then, of course, the next play is the inside veer that we just demonstrated right here, in which now we're running to the outside cheek, which is the landmark for the fullback, the outside cheek of the guard. Now, again, we know that there are a lot of defenses where we can come down and take the fullback away from the game, but we want sometimes to be able to carry the ball even further out, and we will block the first read key sometimes and take the ball out to the second read key and run the outside veer that we call it. And notice now as we come back, let's talk about those steps that Troy just did for us right there. And the outside veer in contrast to the inside veer, notice that his open foot now has stepped to 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock, his second step now brings him to 2 o'clock, and with a short shutter step in there, and again he's going to mesh with Pat as he is running now to the inside foot of the defensive tackle in contrast to the outside cheek of the offensive guard. And that's the basic attack points that we use all across the front, both right and left, for our fullback, and that is basically the most important thing, as I said, that we're doing. Now, who do we read? Who do we read? I think it's important that we understand, and we'll go over here to the monitor as to who we are reading for the handoff key to the fullback. If we're running against a 7-man front defense, we're going to read the first man outside of the guard for the handoff key. Against a 50 defense right here, we can see that the first man outside of the guard would be the defensive tackle. Now, whether he is in a head-up technique, an inside technique, or whether he is in that gap, we have got to be able to read the first man outside the guard for the handoff key. And so the quarterback is going to open, mesh with a fullback, and read whether to give the ball, and we'll show you how we'll read in just a few minutes, and then take the option on out. The read key, if we were in a 6-1 defense right here, would again be the same man, because the first man outside the guard, even though the guard is covered here, is again the defensive tackle, who possibly is in a 5 technique right here, or a 4 technique. So we would end up being reading the same guy in the 6-1 defense. Now, in a 4-3 defense, we notice that the guard is covered right here. The guard is covered, but the next man outside is all the way out in a 7 technique, or possibly in a 6 technique right here. And so consequently, the defensive end is the first guy outside of the guard, and so he would be the guy that we would be reading for the handoff key. That is the way. If I could see the second slide, please. The second slide is now versus an 8-man front. It is very important that our quarterback understand the difference between 8-man front defense and 7-man front defense. But let's look at possibly an 8-man front defense, the Eagle, with a reduced look right here. Again, the guard is covered right here. So the first man outside of the guard in a Eagle defense would be the defensive end or the 5 technique. We're going to come down, basically block our combination block here. We call it go, with the guard basically trying to block that position by itself, our tackle coming down and bouncing up to the linebacker right there, but the read again still coming off the 5 technique for the handoff key right there. That is basically who we read, and then of course we take the ball on now into the secondary for the pitch key. Against a shade or a G defense, there's one thing anytime the guard is covered in here, whether it's again a shade or whether it's over on the guard right here, the fullback has got to be reading the block of the guard right here. And in this case, he has got to be able, if the technique or versus the block of the guard right here tends to work outside, the fullback might take that ball and turn back up underneath that. At all possible, we want the fullback to always stay in the crease. But against an 8-man front, again, the first man outside the guard would be the 5 technique or the 4 technique tackle right there, and that would be who we would be reading for the handoff key. So I think it's important that you understand that the handoff key will vary according to the type of defense that we employ on the line of scrimmage. All right, I think it's very important that we teach the quarterback, and I'll go back, if I could have that first thing just one more time, please. I think it's very important that we teach the quarterback pre-snap reads. Pre-snap reads, for example, mean to us that it gives us anticipation to the quarterback, helps him, possibly come out of the read a little bit quicker. As I said, we want the quarterback to focus those eyes as quick as possible slightly before the snap into the read area. But again, pre-snap reads. For example, if this four technique here on a tackle were to jump down in the gap right here so that he can make a penetrating move on the key right there, then again, we want to be able to possibly pull that football. Now, this doesn't also hold up 100%, but again, it's a pre-snap read. It gives the quarterback an anticipation. So if we jump into that B gap, we tell the quarterback, you know, there's a good possibility that you're going to be pulling the football and continuing, and we won't hook up or stay as hooked up as long in our mesh right here with the fullback as we do. Also, we might very well come up and have a 5 technique out here. Now, again, our line splits are 3 feet right here, and this is a 4 to 7 foot split right there, which, as I told you, the mat here is not accurately designed to our split, but at the same time, by splitting the defense out, we think it makes it an easier job for the quarterback to read. So if this guy's in a 5 technique, we think it is a long way for him to come to be able to make that collision with the fullback and stop the mesh right there. So again, if it's a 5 technique, then again, we're thinking we might end up giving the football to start with. And then, of course, if we go to the 4-3 defense right here, we notice that there's a lot of distance between the guard and between the 7 technique that we're reading right there, or the 6 technique. And so we're telling the quarterback, and probably versus a 4-3 defense, you're going to give the football to the fullback right there. So this doesn't always hold up 100% true, but we think it does give the quarterback an anticipation and makes the ride even possibly a little more fluid there. Now, what are the types of reads that we're going to anticipate the quarterback having to see as he reads the first man? And Pat, if you'll come over now and be a 4 technique on the tackle right here, what are the techniques defensive techniques that we anticipate that the quarterback is going to see that he's going to have to adjust to? Well, the first one is a squat technique. And as the quarterback opens up, this defensive lineman here might very well be playing head-reading defense. He might be playing gap control defense. But if he is sitting on the line of scrimmage or squatting, then we're going to tell our quarterback that we give the football. Because, again, of the distance in there, if we don't feel that he's really coming down hard to take the fullback, then, again, we feel that we can run through the arm tackle of that defensive man right there. So the squat technique is something that we have to work against all the time, which would tell the quarterback basically to give the football. The next technique that we would encounter is that we can get the defense to slant out, or as on the zone scheme, the tackle steps out. Again, if this read man steps out like that, we're going to give the football because we don't think, again, that he can fall back into the play and stop the fullback for less than a 5-yard gain. So we say that is a step out or a slant. And then the next thing that the read man could do is mesh charge. And if we come down to make the mesh right here, he's going to try to make collision right here with the fullback and try to mess up the mesh so that it will get the quarterback and the fullback hung up. That'll never happen. We'll show you what will happen. But as the read guy comes down to, on a mesh charge, we call it, then, again, we're going to pull the football clear and step to the outside. And then the next technique that the defense that will employ that we've got to be ready for is what we call Q. And that means that now the read man is going to try to confuse the read of the quarterback a little bit. He's going to start down on his mesh charge, hoping to influence the quarterback to pull the football. And as the quarterback gets in there, then he is going to bounce up and take the quarterback as he comes off. Now, again, this is a situation where the quarterback would probably need to get that crow hop ride in there and the extra ride in there. But the important thing here is that if we do get cued by the defensive tackle here, or the first read man, and he does cause the quarterback to pull the ball, then we know right now that we're outnumbered to the outside. And it is the unpardonable sin for the quarterback to ever pitch that ball off the first read man. You're outnumbered already to the outside, so what we want the quarterback to do is as he comes down and he works up for the cue right here, is we want him to take and follow that fullback and try to get what he can if we miss the read. But we think also we'll do it through repetition enough that we will be able to give that ball and read the cue stunt and give that ball to the fullback and get a number of plays out of it. So another way that we teach the quarterback, we just tell him basically if the handoff key comes down and takes the fullback, you pull the ball. If the handoff key steps outside, stays on the line, you give the football. It's just that simple. But also we teach him some things too that might help, and that is in looking at the stripes of the helmet of the read key. And if those stripes are coming right down at the fullback, then again we think that's a pretty good indication that the quarterback is going to be pulling the ball. The other thing we teach him to read is the shoulders of the read key. And if those shoulders stay parallel with the line of scrimmage, most of the time he's going to be ended up giving the ball. But if those shoulders again come down perpendicular to the line of scrimmage, then we're going to probably be pulling the football. Those are keys that you can just work with, and the quarterback can possibly help. Now, how do we teach? Pat, if you'll come back to the fullback position here, how do we teach these different things? Well, one, we teach it by numbers. And when we first start in the preseason, we want the quarterback and the fullback to understand all the mechanics, and the quarterback coach will talk them through everything, and we do it by the numbers. And so if we're going to teach the mesh now by the numbers, then on number 1, the quarterback is going to open up at 8 o'clock, trying to present the ball as deep as he can with the techniques that we just talked about. The first lead step by the fullback is in the exact direction, the landmark that he is going to be running, noticing now that the elbow is coming up. On the second step, now Troy steps into the line with his left foot there. Again, Pat forms the well, and the ball is placed in there. On 3, we get the ride now with the quarterback, noticing again that the ball is not going to ever get out over the front foot. And then on 4, we're going to pull the ball, and notice Troy is in complete control here, and we'll continue down the line of scrimmage. That is teaching the mesh by the numbers, All right, then we'll take all of our quarterbacks and fullbacks, and we'll line them across the field, and we'll have several mats right there, again, running the same place, again, the same alignment with the fullback all the time. We'll let one quarterback call cadence for everybody, because we want all of our quarterbacks synchronized into the same cadence, and our backs being familiar with the tone of voice of the quarterback that he's working with. And so consequently, we just run the mesh drill, and we try to develop the cadence at the same time. Troy, if you'll demonstrate that for us, please. This is simply the mesh.
Down, set, hike.
Okay. Now, we realize that the fullback takes a good bit of punishment in the offense. And we don't want to keep him bruised all the time, but yet he's got, again, as I told you, to be an awful tough guy to play the position in our offense. So we'll take the read guy a lot of times, put an air dummy in front of him like this, and do the different techniques that